Beautiful. Fantastic. So what I might do now is just share my screen with you as we did yesterday. And I have to apologize because I just realized that at the end of the day, I didn't change back to my face. So you're probably looking at a very boring computer screen right through the end of training yesterday. So my apologies for that. I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, fantastic. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Wonderful. So as you may remember yesterday, we briefly introduced typing discussion. Now, as we mentioned, discussion in general means chit-chat, legal, administrative or otherwise, that occurs in the courtroom between the judge and the lawyers that are representing the parties, the barristers that are representing the parties. So discussion is a style of typing that we use very frequently as typists. And I just wanted to mention as well, because I don't think I did yesterday, that in terms of the Supreme Court and the County Court, all discussion that occurs between the judge and the lawyers is transcribed by us. So as you progress as a typist at EPIC, you'll come up against other jurisdictions in which the discussion may not be typed. But I just wanted to reiterate with you today that for the Supreme and the County Court, all discussion is transcribed, is typed. I also just wanted to mention that if you wanted to have a little bit of a read about discussion, you can actually find the section on it in the VGRS manual, which I sent to you yesterday. It's in section 7, just under D for discussion. And I also wanted to highlight to you that there are a couple of other places in the manual that you can have a look that will remind you that in the Supreme Court and in the County Court, all discussion is transcribed. So if you have a pen or if you're typing on your keyboard, I would just highlight to you that in the manual, there is a list of all of the things that are typed in the County Court at pages 34 to 35. And there is a list of all of the things that are typed in the Supreme Court at pages 50 to 51. So County Court 34 to 35 and Supreme Court 50 to 51. That's just for your information as a bit of an inroad into the manual. Beautiful. So now that we've rehashed what discussion means, I'd really like to get on to some practice typing discussion this morning, because it is sort of our most basic, I suppose, style of typing that we do. And it's in contrast to typing witness evidence, which hopefully we'll move on to this afternoon. So it's good to get some practice in. Now to do that, what I'd like to do is set up the cut that you're going to be typing, and I'd like to do that with you this morning. Now, can I just get a reminder where we're up to in terms of having our ribbons on Microsoft Word? I think potentially this is something that maybe not all of you got round to with Harsh yesterday. You can see here I'm just dragging my cursor on the VGRS Word Macros ribbon and the transcript ribbon. Maybe we could start off with Diane. Diane, do you have those ribbons in your Microsoft Word as of yet?
Yes, I have those too.
Oh, excellent. Good news. Nicole, do you have those ribbons in your Microsoft Word?
Yes, I do.
You do. Fantastic. Yep. And Monique, are we going to get 3 for 3?
Yep, I've got it too.
Oh, how wonderful. That is fantastic to hear. So if you wanted, I would, and I'm going to guess that means that you have the appropriate VGRS template ready to go as well. So if you would like, I would open up a Word document so that you can follow along doing these steps with me. And what that will mean is at the end of setting up, you'll be more or less ready to type the cut that I'd like you to work on this morning. So if you could just let me know when you have Microsoft Word opened.
I've got mine open.
I have too.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. That was all 3? Fantastic. Wonderful. So what we're going to do now in setting up for this cut is that we're going to rehash some of the steps that we went over yesterday about what we do when we're starting a cut. So the first thing I'd like you to do is also to open up your internet browser. Are you all working in Chrome at this stage?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. So if you could open up Chrome for me, and I'd like you to open up the transcript schedule. Now that was the link that I sent you in an email yesterday. Is everybody able to open that link?
Just give me 1 second, I have to find it.
Yeah, no worries at all. Take your time.
Okay, I've got mine open.
Yeah, so that's 1, 2. Was there one other person
Sorry,
still?
I haven't. I'm just sorry.
No, don't stress at all. Don't stress at all. Take your
Yeah.
time. Just let me know if there's any way that I can assist.
I actually have lost my link.
Oh,
When did you
don't-
send those links? I'm so sorry.
Do not stress at all. So I sent it in an email yesterday. Let me just open it up myself. Excuse me while you all see my emails.
Sorry about this.
No, not at all. Don't be sorry.
The subject was VGRS manual, if that helps.
Oh, thank you. I ignored that one, thinking that wasn't it. Thanks.
That is my fault.
Okay, yeah, it's in there.
I've labelled it as one thing and put 3 things in there. So please excuse my sloppy email style.
Okay, I have mine too.
Perfect. Fantastic. So if you open up that link and down the bottom, just as we did yesterday, if you could click on the training tab. And what I might do at this stage is I might just talk, and if anybody has any
Sorry,
issues.
Katie, you just cut out for a second there.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Could you tell me what tab we're in, sorry?
Oh, what tab? Absolutely. So go down to the bottom and click on the training tab. Hopefully on yours as well, it should be second from the far right.
Yeah, I've got it, thank you.
Wonderful. And just to check with everybody, that's training, not RO/training, just plain training. So now that we've got that, what I'd like you to do is to come down to, should be row 6 on yours. You can see we have the matter of the Director of Public Prosecutions against Andrew Johns. Now, just to reiterate, in case you didn't see that it said criminal trial in brackets underneath the matter name, the DPP is what's telling us that it's going to be a criminal matter because he's prosecuting on behalf of the state. And what I'd like you to do is come along to the very right-hand side of the spreadsheet, hover your mouse over the matter spreadsheets link, which hopefully you can see on my screen, and then click on the link that appears just above it. Has everybody got that?
Yep.
Mine's asking for permission.
Mine is too.
Oh, that's very irritating.
Oh, yes, so is mine.
Sorry about that. That's okay. In that case, just keep the transcript schedule open for now, because most of the information, or in fact all of the information that we need to set up the footer is on there. But what I might do is keep the spreadsheet open and just demonstrate where we look for the information. And then at lunchtime, I'll make sure that you're given permission to view all of these spreadsheets. Please accept my apologies for that. So you may remember from yesterday that when we take a cut in any particular matter that we're typing, we need to jump into the spreadsheet, into the matter spreadsheet, and we need to pop our initials into whichever cut it is that we're going to take. So this morning, you'll be able to see on your transcript schedule, in start finish audio time for Andrew Johns, it says 10:33 to 10:38. Now that's just a little slither of discussion that happened in the morning for this matter, and this is the little slither of discussion that we're going to be typing. So if I were here in the spreadsheet that you don't have access to, I can see that 10:33 occurs in this cut here between 10:29:55 and 10:40. Now, if you were just typing this matter as a matter of course, obviously it's the first cut of the day, so you don't have to worry so much about exactly what time it starts. You just jump into the cut, you see what time it starts, and you start typing from there. So say I was going to type this cut, for example, I can see that it's going to be cut J, which corresponds to that 10-minute segment of time. I'm going to put my initials into the cells. And now everybody who's typing with me knows that I am going to be typing cut J. The next thing I'm going to do is open up my Word document. And I'm going to bring it over here so I can see the information on the spreadsheet. Now, of course, the first thing that I need to do before I start my cut, as we spoke about yesterday, is set up a footer. Now, to do that, what we're going to do, because this is a criminal matter, is go over and click on the VGRS Word Macros ribbon. Has everybody got to that step?
Yep. Yes.
Yep. Fantastic. Now, what we're going to do is the same thing as we did yesterday. We're going to come across and click on this document icon. And from there, we're going to bring the cursor down and click on Start Document. Now at this stage, a little window should pop up saying Document Information. Does everybody have that window?
Yes.
I don't have the window. Oh, there it is. Yep.
No worries. It just sounds like your computer's a bit slower like mine. Don't worry about it. Now we can see that we need to populate these 3 fields. And as you might remember from yesterday, and as you might remember from looking at the document that I sent through, running through how to set up footers, the first thing we need to input is the turn letter. Now turn is just another word for cut, that 10-minute segment. So we come over here and we see that we are doing cut J. So in that box, we're going to type J. Next thing that we need to input is the recorder initials. Now, you may remember from yesterday that the recorder is just another word for monitor. That is, the people who record the footage and who also keep the logs that we had a little look at yesterday, those running descriptions of what's going on in the courtroom. Now, if we come back over to our spreadsheet, you may remember that the monitor is listed. You can see just here in row 5 monitor, we have HC, Hanan, in the monitor's office. So in our Word document, we're going to put HC into the box for recorder initials. And then the last thing that we need to do is put our own initials in because we are the typists. I'm going to put KLM, but I would, if I were you, just put your first and last initial. That's generally how we do it in the office. Once that's ready to go, then we're going to press OK. And hopefully all going according to plan, it should generate this footer for us. Has everybody got that footer?
Yes.
Yep, perfect. No worries. As we go along, if anybody's having difficulties, just sing out. Don't feel at all awkward about it. We'll troubleshoot as we go. And likewise, if I'm going too fast, please just let me know. So just while we've done that, I just might mention, as part of these ribbons that we've just been using, so the VGRS one and the transcript one, we have a great number of what we refer to in the office as macros. Now, you'll have to excuse my technical ineptitude. I understand macros to be a short command for something that is bigger, which is why it's called a macro. Basically, for our purposes, macros are the things that are generated by Word, which later perform a certain function in the merge. They're kind of just like a shortcut or a stylistic thing, I suppose, for letting the mergers know that a particular thing has happened in the type. So for example, in the VGRS Word Macros ribbon, you can see we've got all sorts of things here. We've got a macro for arraignments, which is a specific type of event that happens during a trial. We can see that there's a macro for adjournments. So every time the court takes a break, we would use a macro for that. For court events, for exhibits, for jury events, for witness events. These are all things we'll go over as we go on. But I just wanted to reiterate to you that macros are a sort of short step for a larger thing. Does that make sense to everybody? Beautiful. It's not the most elegant of descriptions, but hopefully it will become more apparent to you as we go on. So this footer that we've just generated here is one example of a macro. Beautiful. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, they're called footers because even though they occur at the top of our cut, when the mergers stitch together or the TCs merge or stitch together all of our cuts, the information...
Hey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry,
okay.
but I completely cut out. I actually left the interview for like 3 or 4 minutes, so I've missed a bit. I think my internet dropped.
I'm so sorry about that.
I'm really sorry. I'm still at the screen for putting in the turn letter and recorder initials.
That is absolutely fine. I'm sorry I didn't realise that you dropped out. So I'll just take you through it again quickly. This is Monique that I'm speaking to, isn't it? Hopefully. Are you still there, Monique?
I'm still here. You keep sort of glitching and I miss half of what you're saying. I'm not sure what's going on.
That's okay. Don't stress too much. We'll just get by the best that we can. And if it turns out that you're cutting out very regularly, then potentially I might even be able to video call you later in the day just to fill you in on anything that you miss out on. So don't stress too much. We'll just try and do our best.
Okay, no worries.
So I'll just take you through setting up the footer again. So in Word, as you know, because you've got the box up in front of you, we've gone into VGRS Word Macros ribbon. We've clicked on the document icon, gone to Start Document. And then what we do is we get up our matter spreadsheet and we need to put in our turn letter. Now, the turn letter is just another word for cut. So we can see on our spreadsheet that we've taken cut J. So we're going to put a J in that little box.
Yep.
And then we're going to come down to recorder initials. Now, the recorder is just the monitor, the person who records what's going on in the courtroom. And on our spreadsheet, just in row 5, you can see that the monitor for this matter is recorded as HC. That's Hanan. So we're going to put an HC in that box. And then in the last one, pretty self-evidently, we're just going to pop our own initials in. So I'd pop KLM and you'd pop your first name initial and surname initial and press OK.
Okay.
Perfect. And so you've got your footer now?
Yes.
Wonderful. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to save the document so that all the work that we do from this point on is going to be ready to go. So what we're going to do is jump into File and Save As.
Yep.
And we need to choose the place to save the file. Now, this process potentially will be a little different for you at home. As Josie said this morning, I believe it's a matter of saving the file locally onto your computer. And then I think she was saying dragging it across from one side of the screen to the other into Epic's Drive. Is that your understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. So what I'll do is I'll take you through the saving conventions, and please feel free just to save it to your computer. What I go through now will obviously not be wasted because later you're going to be dragging it into the place that I'm showing you. Yep, perfect. So you might remember from yesterday that all of our transcript is saved into the T drive or the transcript drive. So I'm just going to click on that. And then all of our courts come up. Now we can see from our matter spreadsheet that we are in the County Court crime. So I'm going to click on County Court folder. And then you can see here, it comes up with the County Court archive with civil, criminal, and some things we don't need to worry about. Now, usually we would jump into criminal and then we would go down to J for Johns. But we're actually going to save this in the archive because this is an old matter. So I'm going to click on County Court Archive. We can see that this matter took place in 2017 because on the spreadsheet it says hearing date 3rd of the 10th, 17. So I'm going to go into the 2017 folder. You can see that it then prompts me, is this civil or criminal? We know it's criminal. And I'm going to go down to J for Johns. Now, of course, in terms of which alphabetized folder to go in, you might remember yesterday that on our spreadsheet, it gives us the shortened name of the matter, and we're always going to save it under that shortened name. So up here, case footer name Johns, that means we're going to go into J for Johns. We have down here the matter name, DPP against Johns, And we can see that it's the same EPIC number, 17-1362, September 2017, the same judge. So I'm going to click on that. And then from this point, we would usually go into typed. We'd go into the appropriate day. So we know from our matter spreadsheet that this is day 2. You can just see here on the spreadsheet, day 2. And then we'd go into the AM because we can see that cut J occurs before lunchtime, so it means it's part of the AM. And here we have a training folder, happily. You can see that a lot of other typists have already typed in this folder, including me when I started, in fact. But what we would do from this point is name our file. So if we come back to our matter spreadsheet, you can see on my screen that we have save as John. And you might remember from yesterday that when in doubt, we save it as the first 4 letters of the case footer name. So the case footer name is John's. We're going to save it as John. John. We know that we're on day 2 from having looked at the spreadsheet, so I'm going to do a 2. And we know that we're typing cut J, so I'm going to type a J in there. And because we have lots of John 2Js already in this folder, I'm also just going to put my name at the end. So when you save yours, I would also ask you to put your name at the end. Of course, if this were a usual cut, that would not appear. It would just be John 2J, and we'd leave it at that. And I'm going to save. Was everybody able to follow that all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, fantastic, amazing. Wonderful, so now we have our footer, we've saved the document. The next thing that we might like to do is actually open up our logs and our glossary, because that might give us some idea as to who, oh, actually, it's already on the spreadsheet. So the next thing that I would do in terms of setting up my Word document is set up my autocorrect. So we spoke about that yesterday, the little lightning bolt, you can see where I'm dragging my cursor on my screen, little lightning bolt icon up the top. Does everybody have that at this stage?
I don't have
I
that
do, but
specific
I use another program as well.
Ah, yes, was that the auto language that we were talking about yesterday? Or I've forgotten exactly how you referred to it yesterday, sorry, but these are yours.
Well, I think
somebody else
I
saying
think
that.
Diane I think Diane mentioned she uses another program and I use another one too.
Okay, beautiful. As far as so I spoke yesterday to Kat about that, and she said as long as it is coming up just as the words that we would expect in the document, she doesn't see any reason why that should be a problem. So right. That is the answer on that for now.
Okay.
But in terms of the autocorrect, do you think you would be able to set up the sort of things that we were looking at yesterday? So, for example, HH for His Honour in your own program?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, wonderful. And so in that case, probably we don't need to speak any more about that, but I'll run through it just for the sake of how we do it. So what I would do is HH for his or her honour is the question. I'm going to come back to my matter spreadsheet and I see that this is Judge Wishusen. Now, if I didn't know if that was a man or a woman, there are a number of ways that I could find out when I was setting up my document. First of all, I could jump into the glossary, I could jump into the logs and see if it was there. But for now, and I could also come over here on my spreadsheet and see if anyone had written it in. For now, what I might just do is Google it. That's another really great way to go. So we know it's the County Court Judge Wishusen. And then we can see immediately, actually, the County Court website comes up, His Honour Judge Wishusen. So I'm just going to use that Google information, come back to my Word document, and I've already got it programmed in there as His Honour. So beautiful, we're ready to go on that one. I'm going to see which council members we have. Now, a typist has entered them into the matter spreadsheet. So I see Miss Hassan for the prosecution. So I'm going to type MMHH, the MM for the Miss and the HH for Hassan. And then I'm going to type in capitals, Miss Hassan, : face, replace. And my other council member is Mr. Mandy. So I'm going to type in MMMN, Mr. Mandy in capitals, :space, ready to go. And you can see that I have many, many in here. When I first started, I was paranoid that I was accidentally going to end up with a Mr. Lee in the middle of a transcript. So I used to delete them, but you can just have all of them in there ready to go and redefine as you go along. So our autocorrects are set up and ready to go. At this point, we're going to get our other resources up and ready to type. So I'm just going to show you how I do it, and then we'll give you permission to the worksheet so you'll be able to view the glossary as well. But what I would do first is I'd come back to my Matter spreadsheet and I would open up the glossary, hover my mouse over the link, comes up with the link above, and here is my glossary for John's all ready to go. Now we can see, in fact, that if I'd open up that first, I could have seen that it was His Honour Judge Wishusen, but that's all good. The next thing that we're going to do is open up our footage and our logs so we have those ready to go. Now, hopefully we should all be able to do this. So I just ask you to open up FTR, first of all. And if you could just let me know when that's open.
Yes, mine's open.
Fantastic.
Yes, mine's open.
I'm still
Wonderful.
loading, sorry.
No, don't stress, all good. It's actually good when we have slightly slow technology because it gives me a moment to make sure that we're on schedule. So I appreciate it.
All right, all loaded.
Wonderful. So now we've got FTR open, we're going to get our files ready to load into FTR. So again, this may be slightly different for you using FileZilla. And I know that, Nicole, at this stage, you won't be able to load these files in. Don't stress, just watch what I do and just remind yourself of the process. And then we can potentially troubleshoot a little bit later when Monique and Diane get started on the typing exercise. We'll figure it out so that you get to do a type as well.
Sure.
So to access our footage or audio, as we spoke about yesterday, we're going to come into the Courts drive or the R drive. And as we also mentioned yesterday, generally at this point, if we were working on a running, that is a matter that was happening on the day, we would scroll all the way down up to the most recent day. So you can see here, today's the 3rd of July, and there's a folder where all of the footage for the particular courtrooms is stored. But again, I'm going to go back because we're actually working from an archived matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up the top into 2017 archive. And you can see all of the days in here for which we had footage from 2017. Now, this particular matter that we're looking at, if we jump back on our matter spreadsheet, we can see up the top that it happened on the 3rd of October 2017. So it means that I'm going to look in here for 2017 10:03. So all of our files go backwards, which can be a bit confusing at first, but we can see it's the 3rd of the 10th, 2017. And I'm going to double click on that file. We can see here that we have 8.2, which is telling us that it was courtroom 8.2, and that matches up with our matter spreadsheet, County Court 8.2. So we know we're in the right matter. And then, as we saw yesterday, we can see all of the FTR files, and we can see this little Internet Explorer file, or it might look a bit different on yours, but that's going to be our log. So the first thing that we might do is open up the log, and we do that by right-hand clicking on that file. And then I always go down to open with Google Chrome because otherwise it'll open up Internet Explorer and take a good 5 minutes to do so if your computer's as slow as mine. Has everybody been able to open that log? Except for Nicole, of course.
Not yet. I'm just downloading it.
Of course, no worries.
And I'm just working out where I'm downloading to. I hadn't set that up. Where I was going to download to. Sorry.
No worries at all. Take the time you need. I've factored in a little bit of extra time this morning, so we don't need to worry too much. Sorry, did I just interrupt someone?
Yes, it's okay. I'm just trying to figure out where it is in FileZilla, I have a folder called Melbourne Courts. Is that it?
That's the one I
would say
went
probably.
to. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. You go ahead.
Sorry.
You'll know better than I do.
That's where I found it.
Okay. And it was 2017 archive?
Correct. And then you'll see all of those, I'll just jump back into it. You'll see all of those dated folders. And we know that this matter happened on the 3rd of the 10th, 2017 by looking at the matter spreadsheet. So if you scroll down.
I found it.
Yep, perfect. Yep. Then you'll see 8.2 for courtroom 8.2.
Yep.
Yep, wonderful. Now to open up the logs, you'll see, hopefully for you, it looks like a little Internet Explorer icon.
Hang on, I'm taking a few minutes to load. I'm sorry. Okay, I see it now, yes. Yep,
no worries. Beautiful. And we just right-hand click on that Internet Explorer icon. Come down to open.
I've got to download it first.
Yes, sorry. Just while that's downloading, I might just reiterate because you can see my screen. So you'll remember yesterday that, and excuse me if you've already internalized all of this and I'm just repeating what you already know, but I think it bears repeating that the logs, the description that's kept by the monitors, who are generally here in the Melbourne office, they can record matters remotely. So just to give you a little bit of information, the way that they record most matters is that in our little office, they have a master computer. And on this master computer, they have a list of all of the courtrooms in the county court, for example, and they can literally just go and click on courtroom 8.2 and press start recording. So that's how they do it remotely. It's pretty amazing to see, to be honest. Sometimes we might have a matter that happens in a regional court, for which they need to have somebody on site, or sometimes we might have a private matter, or a matter that isn't part of the court system. For example, last week we had the Tasmanian Estimates Committee meeting, which required set up on site, and then obviously that audio was given to us and we transcribed it. But in general, the monitors are able to remotely record from their office. And from there, they will keep an eye on the matter. They will put in the information up the top about the matter name, the judge, the case name, who's appearing on behalf of the prosecution and the accused, so the lawyers. And then we keep a running time log down the left-hand side. And next to that, we generally have who's speaking and some of what they might be saying or the type of thing that they might be saying. And this is all just clues for us as typists if we're not sure what's going on or who's saying what. It's just like a good roadmap for us. So how are we going with that download?
Diane, where did your file save to?
At first, I didn't find the first one, but then I went back, and if you look at the FileZilla screen, on the left-hand side, can you see under local site where your own drives are?
Yes.
If you've created one, say for Epic, just sort of double click on that and then download it again and it'll go to that folder.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for doing that troubleshooting along the way. You're much more help than I am at this point, so I really appreciate it.
Oh,
okay, I've got it. I'm just opening it now.
Oh, fantastic news.
All right, there we go, all good.
Wonderful. So have you been able to open that log as well, or should I run through that again?
No, I've got it open in Chrome.
Oh, amazing. Fantastic. So now that that's open, we can jump back into the audio files and we're going to load them into FTR. So I imagine this will be the same as it was, the same for you at home as it is for me in terms of just highlighting all of those files. and dragging them across into FTR Player. Sometimes it takes maybe a little while to sort of get with the program while it loads all the files. But you should know that it's ready to go when you have your start time and your finish time and the little footage box come up down the bottom.
Okay, I'll try dragging them and it says it can't load it, so I'm going to assume I'll have to download them to my computer first.
Okay, no worries. Well, would you like to start that download process now? Because hopefully, depending on how long it takes, we still might be able to get some typing done, fingers crossed. Yep. But in any case, that's the process. And so at this stage, we're pretty much ready to go, because just to rehash, we've got our matter spreadsheet. We've popped our initials into J so everyone knows that we're taking that segment. We've opened up our glossary and we've opened up our log, so they're ready to go. And we've also set up our Word document with our footer up the top, and also by saving it into the appropriate folder using the appropriate file saving convention. So at this stage, we would get ready to type. Now, I'm just having a look at the time and just wondering how long those files are going to take to type, to load.
Mine are about 75% done, so just another few seconds.
Oh, that's
Yes,
fantastic.
Sorry, I didn't say mine is loaded.
Oh, wonderful. This is really, really wonderful. So potentially in a few minutes, we can start the type. So what I might do is just quickly rehash a couple of the general discussion stylistic things that we very, very briefly touched on yesterday, just so you can have a couple of things in your mind as we're going. I might just open up the cut that has already been typed for this, just so I can demonstrate. So I'm just going to just excuse me quickly rushing through these folders. Please don't worry about getting it up yourself, because we'll just be able to see it on my screen. All right. Oh, hello. I've just figured out a mistake with this cut. Potentially you can also see it. So here on my screen, what I've done is I have pulled up the cut that was typed for J for this matter originally, but you can actually see here that our footer looks a little different. And you may remember that yesterday I very, very briefly introduced us to what civil footers look like. Now, the civil footers have 3 lines and the criminal only has 1, as we've already seen. So this typist actually accidentally did a civil footer, which is a bit of a worry, but it also makes for a good learning point. So there we go. So just to rehash a couple of the stylistic things that we went through yesterday, just before you start typing, we can see obviously that every time that we have a new person speaking, as some of you would be very familiar with from previous typing experience, we need to have a new name in the margin. So the way that we do it at EPIC is, or indeed for VGRS, is that we have the name in the margin in caps, we have a colon, and then we follow it with 2 spaces. And you may remember yesterday as well that I also mentioned that we have 2 spaces after full stops as well. So you can see over here in line 5, Miss Hassan, good morning, Your Honour, full stop, 2 spaces. That's just a really basic thing to keep in mind. Something else that it is good to keep in mind when we're typing is that we always type Your Honour in capitals. Well, with the initial capitals, excuse me. So Your Honour will always have a capital Y and a capital H. When we're referring to His Honour or to another person, it's also good to remember that we pop in a comma before we have the title. And I just mentioned that because it's something that a lot of typists forget. But again, if you have some typing experience, this may be absolute 101 to you. Just to remind you, if, for example, I were typing, and Your Honour, I would like to speak about this. I would type, and Your Honour, I would like, or generally, and also, comma, Your Honour, comma, I would like to speak about, etc., etc. And I only mention that now before you start typing because Your Honour comes up a lot in the transcript, as you might expect. In terms of other things to speak about just before you type, I guess in general it's good to remember that numbers, according to VGRS, 0 to 10 are written in words and 11 up are in numerals. There are some exceptions to that, but they're all listed in the manual. Was anybody able to have a little bit of a flick through the manual last night? It's completely fine if not, but did anyone have a little look?
I tried to. The first few pages.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a big manual. It's worth just having a little flick through, and as we come up against things, as we get practice in typing, it'll be really good if we can give you little inroads, as we've been saying, into the manual. So as we come up against different stylistic conventions, for example, formatting conventions, I'll try my best to give you references to the manual. And if I don't, please feel free to call me on it and I'll find you the references. So there's just a few little things to mention now. Our file is all up, ready to type in. So it's just a matter of remembering to use our margin names every time we have a new speaker. And to use the 2 spaces after a colon and a full stop. And also remember, we spoke a little yesterday about the fact that in discussion between judges and counsel, between judges and the barristers, we tend to clean it up just a little bit. So just as a reminder, when you're doing your practice type, which will come next, don't feel the need to type any ums and ahs, what we call utterances. We don't type discussion completely verbatim. So that means we don't type absolutely everything that we hear. We don't type the mm-hms or the ums or the ums or the ahs. We just type what they say. That's probably all I need to speak to you about for now. What I'm tempted to do is actually to ask Monique and Diane to get out of the Blue Jeans call and to start typing the cut. I'll just remind you to make sure that in FTR you've started up the appropriate start and finish times. So cut J starts at 10:29:55 and finishes at 10:40. If we come into our log, we can actually see that the matter only commenced at 10:33 and there is a short adjournment at around about 10:40. So when you're starting to type, you can bring it up to around about 10:33. And just remember that we start typing once the judge has come and sat down and they've called the matter. So the judge sits down, the tip staff says, calling the matter of DPP against Andrew Johns, and we start typing from there. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
I did have the slightly wrong time because I thought we'd mentioned we were doing 10:33 to 10:38. So I'm just going back in to download one more file to get that last minute or so right to 10:40.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry about that.
10:38 for some reason. I'm not sure where I got that from.
You're absolutely right, because I did mention on the spreadsheet it has 10:33 to 10:38, and that is slightly different from what is on the logs. In any case, given the amount of time we have, if you have time to do up to 10:40, that's wonderful. But if you don't and you only get up to 10:38, that's more than fine as well. I know that a couple of you have a bit of experience in typing, so potentially this might be an absolute cinch to just type, 5 to 8 minutes. But I guess what I'm saying is don't stress about the matter, about the amount that you produce. It's just more about coming to grips with what it's like watching courtroom discussion. I suppose, engaging a little bit with some of the things that we've been talking about stylistically for discussion. And if you want to stop and get your VGRS manual up and have a little bit of a look in there as well, please feel free. So don't feel as though you need to bash out the whole, 5 to 8 minutes. It's just really about having a bit of a practice type. So I think